We are very pleased to be speaking to Dan Rogers, the Senior Vice President and Executive Producer of the Grand Ole Opry. First of all, Dan, congratulations. This is a momentous year in the Opry's history, 100th anniversary. Congratulations on the anniversary celebration this year.
We're thrilled to be 100 and invite country music fans from around the world to come see us, including you fine folks as well. Lots of really, really great shows and lots of great shows to come, and so we're excited to say come on down.
And of course, we want to talk a little bit about one of the legendary ladies in country music who we lost on August 1st, Jeanie Seely. What a beloved member of the Opry that she was, and really a very important artist in the Opry's history.
Absolutely. And her importance, I really do believe, will be magnified and will grow as the years go by. Sometimes I think it's not so much taking something for granted, but it's hard maybe to see when somebody is so full of life and just visiting dressing rooms and working all these different things, to take a look back at the enormous impact that person made. But you've seen that over the past few days following her passing, and I really do think that it will be more and more clear what a difference she's made in country music, and especially at the Opry. Truly, with each passing year, not only will she never be forgotten, I really think that her legend will grow in the years ahead as well.
Dan, the one thing that always struck me about Jeanie Seely is she seemed to be admired as much by the legend acts as she was to the new and rising stars coming into the Opry. It seems like she was always willing to extend a hand and kind of mentor and guide new artists on their way and always give advice. And it seemed like a lot of the newer artists really appreciated that and that friendship.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it was, she thought of it as her duty, as something she was called to do. She loved the Opry and country music so much that I think she thought that's how she could give back. But I also think she thoroughly enjoyed it. It kept her young and it kept her in the public spotlight. And I think she just, she genuinely loved people. She loved to laugh. She loved to give people a hard time. And when a young artist would come up to her or her up to them and there was a connection there, it never left.
The other thing about Jeanie, Dan, that I admired was her resilience. When I remember back to 2010, and I know that flood was devastating to the Opry, and Jeanie lost her house, but that did not deter her. I mean, she moved forward after that, rebuilt. Really, that was a difficult time for you all, but I was amazed to see her resilience after that situation.
Absolutely. Her house flooded on a Sunday, and that Tuesday, 2 days later, she was playing the Opry in a location we hadn't planned to be playing because the Opry house, of course, flooded as well, and she was playing in borrowed clothes. It's what she did, was she got out there and kept going and upheld her commitments and stayed strong. And yeah, she got married that year even to our good buddy Gene Ward. It was not only did she not stop, she kept going and really became, I think, a pivotal year in the final years of her life.
Yeah, I had Jeanie here in Pennsylvania. She did a number of shows for me over the years. It was always great to have her, and whenever Gene would come along, they seemed to get along so well together and complement each other. Jeanie was always raising that Opry flag. She loved the Grand Ole Opry. I know you know that. It certainly was an amazing part of her life, and to have accomplished 5,397 shows, what dedication.
That's absolutely amazing. She was great to us, and I hope and believe that the Opry was good for her in return. It was a match made in heaven, I'd say.
Well, I know last Saturday night you had a special show, and you had a lot of artists that did performances and tributes to Jeanie. I'm sure that was a great night.
There was a whole lot of love in the room. Of course, there was great sadness as well, but just a whole lot of love. And certainly, as I said opening the show that night in tribute to her, everybody back here has at least one Seely story. something funny. She was great about, she learned something was happening in your life, asking you about it, helping you out, sometimes pretty quietly, just following up with a phone call, the Monday after a Saturday show or what have you. But yeah, Saturday was very, very special here. I never take the Opry for granted on nights like that. It was the place that truly people really needed to gather to talk about their great friend, in many cases mentor.
She obviously produced the final album of her career back in 2020. I was gratified to see all the recognition she got out of that album. There were some great cuts on there. I know she put a lot of effort into it, and what a wonderful project that was, an American classic.
She thought and rethought again so many of the things she did, from her recorded music to live shows to even just helping out, like producing a fundraiser show here in town. She truly gave all of it her all, and you're right, that album, something that she was very, very proud of and should have been.
A lot of our listeners, they know Jeanie from her music and her great songs that played on radio over the years, but there was so many other things that she was involved in. I know she did some theater projects over the years in Nashville. I know she even did a bit of acting, was in Honeysuckle Rose, worked with Willie Nelson on that project. So there was a lot of things a lot of folks may not even be aware of that she did, and I know she was always proud to have originated here in Pennsylvania and always carried that heritage with her as well.
She did indeed, and you're right. You really couldn't keep her down, and I think that's one thing that kept her going. Even times of just terrific sadness and illness over the past 6 months, she was still thinking about what was next, what she wanted to get. Of course, everybody wants to hear from Celie, and so we had some interview requests piling up and that sort of thing, and just a few days truly before she left us, she had said, I'm ready to tackle those things. So she was still hard at it. That's just one of the reasons she'll be so greatly missed.
Even with her weekly radio show on Sirius XM, she told me that was something that really kind of dropped in her lap unexpectedly. She said, I never considered doing a radio show. See, that these people from Sirius XM, I guess they heard her speaking to a group in Nashville, and they were impressed, and they said, we need to have you on the air.
Exactly. Why don't these things happen to me? I'm kidding.
Dan, it's been a pleasure catching up with you, and again, congratulations on the 100th year anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry. I truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us to remember Jeanie Seely. Obviously, a great lady who will be missed at the Grand Ole Opry and missed by her fans, not only here in the United States, but Jeanie had fans worldwide. So definitely a great talent and someone who will be remembered for many, many years.
She'll never be forgotten in the halls and on the stage and on the airwaves of the Grand Ole Opry. Thank you, Pennsylvania, for sharing her with us.